The ACLU recently did something that I very much respected them for, but you got in a lot of hot water for it, with some folks in your willingness to defend the white nationalists' right to gather and speak in Charlottesville. And I hate that we have to say this today, but I hate freaking Nazis, right? And I assume you agree with me on that. But this was one of those cases where you argued, the ACLU argued, that everybody gets to speak in America.
Right. That's our basic argument, and that's what the ACLU has always stood for, that people should be, as Justice Jackson once said, the watchmen of their own truth, because we shouldn't let the government tell us what we can and can't say. So we've been criticized on both sides for the fact that we did represent Mr. Kessler in Charlottesville. And a little background on that, what actually happened in that case was when he came to the ACLU of Virginia, he had been planning to have his demonstration in front of the statue of Robert E. Lee. And the city, without really giving any good reason, told him he couldn't have it there, he had to have it a mile away. And through the litigation, when he came to us, he signed an affidavit that he was going to have a nonviolent demonstration. And the city never came up with any good reason for why they wouldn't let him have his photo op of demonstrating in front of the statue itself. So there have been many people who criticized us because white supremacist speech is so obnoxious and so harmful that nobody should be allowed to say those things. Now, to me, that's a kind of argument we've always heard. Everybody who's arguing against free speech always says, you can say whatever you want, but you can't say that.
Yeah.
That particular thing is not possible. And we just think that once you stop being content neutral, you've lost the whole game. Because first of all, if a city has the power, or if any level of government, any public school has the power to say who can say what, you can say what you believe in, but you can't say what you believe in because we don't like that, then at that point the government is controlling us. We're not controlling the government. So when I speak, I often like to speak about the Sedition Act of 1798, where the Federalists put themselves into position of prosecuting all the Democratic Republican newspapers that you were criticizing them. And we can't let that happen to our country.
Yeah.
So on the Charlottesville thing, I'll say a couple of other things about that. So as you were saying, it was not a popular decision. So the executive director of the ACLU of Virginia was invited to William and Mary to speak about what the decision made, because the students were interested in hearing her point of view of why the ACLU agreed to take that case. She was silenced. There were a number of students who came and demonstrated right in front of her and talked and yelled so loudly that she stood on the stage for 45 minutes and was not allowed to speak. So, that's part of the problem. We've had reactions too. The ACLU has had over 1 million new members since the election, because there are a lot of people who are very concerned about the risks to our civil liberties under President Trump. And I think that many of our new members were assuming that we would be anti-Trump all the time, and we're not. We also represent the right of Trump supporters to speak, and we do represent the rights of even the white supremacists. So we lost some members, not nearly as many as we did when the ACLU took on the Skokie case in the late 70s, where, again, we represented neo-Nazis. We've represented the Klan. We've represented the best, or we didn't represent, but we filed an amicus brief on behalf of the Westboro Baptist Church. And as you say, I think those views are despicable. And I hold my nose when I think about the fact that we have been supporting people's rights to say some of those things. But I do think that you cannot allow the government to be the censor of what people can and can't say. Because the whole idea of the First Amendment is that it's about the relationship between the individual and the state, and that we do have to be the watchmen for our own truth.